Welcome to Between the Briefs, a podcast by Steno. We share practical tips and expert insights on the pretrial process, court reporting, and legal technology to keep you updated on how technology is revolutionizing the litigation process and the wider legal sector. I'm your host, Adrian Cea.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Between the Briefs. I'm your host, Adrian Cea, and today we have a very special guest who has been in law for many years and is also the co-founder of Justice HQ and Attorney Share. Well, Bob, thank you for joining us here today. Tell me, how are you doing?
I'm doing fair to quite fair. Actually, every day is better than the last. I'm one of those super optimistic guys that's always happy. It's probably because I drink a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Bourbon and Proof, right? So how did you get started with that idea?
So this was during COVID, and I'd been, doing Justice Team podcasts for lawyers. It was like practical how-to podcasts. And then we was like, let's do something a little more fun. So my creative director, Teresa Deep, who owns Outlier Creative Agency, which we use and is one of the producers of our shows, she's like, we've got to do a show that's kind of, because I always love whiskey. And I love hanging out, talking to my friends. We used to do all these little events. She's like, you should just do a show where you're just drinking whiskey and interviewing your friends. I was like, that sounds like a plan. She's like, we could do it like hot wings or hot ones, where we're just getting people more and more drunk. And I usually do pretty high proof pours. And then it turned into this dude, because it was during COVID. It's like, let's just start writing out a studio, interviewing some people. Now it's like, I think we're almost at 50 episodes and we've done on location. We were in Austin last week. I've been to Phoenix, been to Atlanta, Birmingham, but people bring us out there because, it's a fun show, but now we have a long list of folks that want to come on. And we like to make it fun and inspirational. So I like bring different bottles that tell stories for the guests.
Yeah, I like that.
So and now we're getting like sponsorships. It's pretty exciting stuff.
I mean, it's crazy how things just start cascading and then blowing up. So I saw your collection out there. That's why I had to ask.
This is just here at the office at Justice HQ. If you go to my whiskey room in my house in Manhattan Beach, you'll see some very fine things.
So I want to tie it more into your professional background.
Sure.
Right. You've been an attorney for how many years now?
I am going on 20 years next year. I'm 19 years in.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, I understand that you focus mainly on personal injury law.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to get into that in the first place?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, pretty working class guy. My uncle, he's actually my second uncle, my Irish side of my family. My grandmother's one of 12. So there's people that are my dad's same age as one of his uncles, even though just whatever. So my favorite uncles got hit and paralyzed by a drunk driver. He was unbelted at the time. And I saw how his scrappy lawyer had to fight for him and ended up doing very well for him and his family. And I was always inspired. This is when I was 11, 12, 13 area to advocate and do that kind of stuff. And I watched a lot of Perry Mason, all that stuff, but it was, I grew up playing a lot of sports, and I always thought the courtroom was probably the most thing that was akin to sports, where it's like mental competition and strategy. And I always wanted to eventually go into politics, and they said law is a good avenue to get into politics. So I went from Pittsburgh, got into George Washington School in D.C., early decision, applied to one school, got in, got a scholarship, said this is where I'm going to go ahead and go. And I always knew the path I wanted to go to. I always knew I wanted to be in California. Came out here for law school and was been working as soon as I could at a small PI firm, and then started my own after 3 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So this experience with your uncle, you mentioned, is this why you focus mainly on helping on underserved communities? And I've seen like your headlines, and it's like everyone deserves, a chance to be represented.
Yeah, and we work only on a contingency fee model. We only get paid if we win. And sometimes I'll take cases where I know it's very unlikely that we will win, but it's a story that still needs to be told. Because we were that. Like, we grow up that. Most of the people that in my family circles are that. And I never wanted to represent a corporation or insurance company or a faceless thing. I want real people, real human beings to help them. But yeah, that's just always, who we are at our core, at our family, at our firm. And that's just what we do.
It's fantastic. And what would you say one of the biggest challenges of being a personal injury attorney?
So being a PI attorney, one of the bigger challenges is, it takes a while because you're on a contingency fee model. It's not like you're doing like billables, right? So you have to, first of all, put all your cash up front. And if you win, you get that cash back, right? But you have to win in order to make any even fees off of that case. Okay. So if you're starting your own firm, it takes a while for you to start to get in that cycle, because if you get a case on day one, it's likely not going to resolve for a year, year and a half, 2 years later. For a bigger case, longer than that. So you have to know that you're literally, like I did, tuna and ramen noodles every night for a year or two. You got to keep the faith, because as soon as you hit that wave, if you're doing well, bringing in cases, doing good service to your clients, it is probably the most lucrative space that you can be in as a lawyer.
I see. So what advice would you give to anyone starting up in terms of getting past that 1 year mark of eating dirt, until you get to the clouds?
First, I think dirt is very nutritious for you, and I think you got to eat a lot of it. No, I think that mentorship is huge. You have to find people in your circles that have been there before to help guide you in your career, just like any business. But you got to find out that there's other models out there that you can do. You have the ability to have delay pay solutions, right? You can work with companies that will carry those costs and not charge you until the case resolves. That's a big thing for people in personal injury space, right?
Definitely.
That's a huge saver, because you're not putting those cost dollars out. If you're not putting in the case, you can then maybe invest it in advertising, marketing, or an associate or a case manager, et cetera, right? And then the ability to generate referral fees and co-counseling. I did not know this when I started, but now that I do, I think it's one of the best things you could do as a young lawyer is if you get a big case, you can always partner with another firm you can give up a percentage of the fee, but they'll carry the cost in that case, litigate it with you so you can learn with them, try the case with them and learn. And I started doing that after a few years of practice when I learned that I could, after I started my firm. And we were hitting monster verdicts, and I was learning from the best trial lawyers.
Wow.
And now it's flipped where I try a lot of cases and people bring me in to try that on that model. And I'll gladly, if they give me a percentage of the fee and I fund it, I gladly come there and teach and show them how to do it. And then the ability to use your law license to generate referral fees. I mean, you can, if some client calls you, it's not your wheelhouse. Like I don't do employment, but I know the best that do. I can then push it through to that person and get a referral fee for it. So you could do a lot of that and start building those networks in even college, but especially law school. Yeah.
So you mentioned this partnering with a law firm that can carry the costs and even some of the workload. Some of these cases can get really large. What do you think is the secret to being able to pair with a successful law firm?
Well, yeah, it's like being a partnership in a business. If you see every client is like even if they're a business, are you going to invest 100% of it? Are you the best avenue for it? Or would you do the client a better job by partnering with the best of the best in that space?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you just have that mindset. So what I do is I think, some cases outside my wheelhouse or jurisdiction, like I get brought in nationwide to try cases, but I need somebody that's very good local counsel, but you have to go through the vetting process. So this is where mentorship is important, being in the right circles to understand who is the best and who's a fake person, right? It's like, that's why we did Justice HQ, the company that we founded. That's why we have these credibility scores. That's why we work a lot with intelligence to make sure that if we're partnering with another firm or if they want to partner with us, it's the right fit. Because I don't care if it's a multi-million-dollar case that somebody's bringing me. If this attorney's unethical or they're a pain in the ass, I don't want to work with them, right? Because that's going to just bog it down for you. So again, it's being in the right circles to ask the right questions and get the right intel.
I see. Now, this is a good piece of advice, and getting into the right circles, I think, is such a big move.
It's so much easier now, too. You can literally slide into people's DMs. You can literally just DM somebody and say, hey, ask for advice. Like I had some guy reach out to me from Chicago yesterday. He hit me up on LinkedIn. He didn't think I'd respond. Then I Zoomed with him that day and just
That's
like, hey,
crazy.
Yeah, I do it all the time. It's like I appreciate when people did it for me when I started. So why not? Like I got 30 minutes. I could eat lunch at my computer and Zoom with you, no problem.
That's amazing. And you mentioned a really key component here, and that's with technology nowadays, it's so easy. I know it's changing the landscape for everything. It's not just being able to DM people directly. How about in your workload and caseload? Have you implemented any kind of technology that's really changed the game for you?
Yeah, and I think if people see a lot of what we do, I'm in a technology company as well, so I'm big into legal tech. We know who integrates better with others. We know who's the forefront of things. Like at my firm, I recently had on the show Dylan Brugge at Steno. I use Steno all the time. They're a technology platform that does depositions. They have deposition transcript. Transcript G is that summarizes them. I use Even Up. They do medical summaries, and they do demand letters, automations with artificial intelligence, and they do interactive timelines, which is big for what we do in personal injury. We use a product called ClearBrief. ClearBrief will fact check the briefs of other people as they come in, score them, hyperlink to show that they're wrong. It'll help set up word shells for you. Like if you need to set a declaration out for a motion for summary judgment, it can help populate that and hyperlink it. Yeah, that's a really good product. We use Esquire Tech every day at our firm, which is a discovery one. Esquire Tech will have the ability you get like a PDF of all the special interrogatories or discovery. You could drop it into there. It creates the word shells for you. It suggests the answers. You can auto-populate your objections. You can send it to your client in easy format so that they can help answer them. It just makes it so much easier and efficient. That used to take us forever to do. And then we use ones that are thinking of the AM chatbot, personal AI, which I call teach lawyers by using that. So that's one that I use daily. I'm thinking what else. The case text co-counsel, I'm more of a Westlaw guy. Half our firm uses Lexis AI. The other half uses co-counsel through Westlaw. Foundation AI, we use at our firm. Foundation AI is one that takes all of your incoming mail, and either digital or hard, and it'll OCR it, and their artificial intelligence puts it in the folders where it needs to go.
Wow.
That was a task I used to do when I started my firm, is I scan the mail, name it, put it in the right folder. Now this is all automated.
So I'm hearing a lot of problems that you've been able to find solutions for, right? Very quickly using technology. How have you been able to quickly identify, this can be optimized using some kind of tech?
I mean, I always think if something is a menial task that's like data entry, it could probably be automated. That's probably one that you can use artificial intelligence to do, or things that you can do on scale. Like if I'm getting asked the same question over and over again by people either reaching out on social media, lawyers in our firm, lawyers that I'm mentoring, well, heck, I could probably create a chatbot to answer these questions a lot faster than me answering it every single time, even in a cut and paste, so that it can optimize my time somewhere else. But I think just look at things that like frustrate you all day. And if you think, God, if I had a solution for that, wouldn't it be great? Like today, I just learned with the personal AI one is like, they can hook it up to my Outlook and start answering emails for me.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I just have to like click a button, make sure it's okay. And then I was like, well, can it like search my Outlook calendar too? So if like it says, hey, can you take this meeting Thursday at 2? It'd be like, no. Like somebody emails you that, it will respond and say, no, I'm like picking up my kids from school at that time. Can you do 3:15? Like, how much time that would save me?
Yeah. An insane amount of time. Yeah. So I know our industry is very, I want to say traditional, right? The legal industry is extremely traditional. What advice would you give to anyone out there looking to adopt this new technology, but are still a little bit apprehensive?
Again, it goes back to that mentorship thing, is have people teach you that you respect how they're using those products. I think the space is still law influencer driven, where if somebody's doing it and using it, you want to do it too. I mean, it's kind of how it is. There are actually a lot of consultants that do this journey. They're almost like fractional CTOs, where they'll come in and say, okay, let me look at what you want to do. Here's some products that can help build your firm that you could use and optimize. Those are two really good starting points to be able to do.
Got it. And when it comes to adopting and actually implementing the technology, right? So you got it, you got AI. How do you decide who in your firm should be the one in charge of it?
So it's people that we have different teams. So at my firm, it started with just me as a true solo. Now we have 27 lawyers and a lot of staff, right? We're in 3 different states. It's usually the people that are a little more forward thinking. We have our litigation managers that are using it and see which products they like to use and then teach their teams what to use. And, we're blessed enough to have an actual CTO at our firm, but, we're at a certain point where we could do that vets the technology along with me, because with Just HQ and Attorney Share, we're vetting a lot of technology that's new that's coming out. And if I see a product that I like, I'll then have our CTO vet it and then have a test run by a few lawyers in our firm that would actually be using the product to make sure it solves something. But one thing I always hear from a lot of law firms, and it's the same probably for a lot, is a lot of people at your law firm would be like, well, I'm not going to use this, or hesitation to use it. And that's where you have to empower your company. It'd be like, ask them, what are some things that if we could automate for you would make your life better?
I see.
Right. And then have them come to the solution and vet products. And that's how you get the empowerment piece of it.
I see. So you kind of create like a little feedback mechanism with them too.
Yeah. And you got to test crap out of these products before you get on board.
Now, have you ever used Transcript Genius? And
yes.
I say this because Steno is coming out. We have our upcoming release of it, and we're very excited for it. Tell me, what are your thoughts on it?
So I know they're in the beta, but we've been using it, and I've been teaching people at our firm how to use it, because we do we're deposition heavy. I mean, it's probably the biggest line item on our cost bill every time, even though Steno carries it forward for us. It's still the largest. So we have a lot of deposition information out there. Deposition Genius, I go into, or Transcript Genius, and I can query by case. So if we're doing like one I had recently had, and we probably had 30 depositions. Expert heavy was a liability dispute, was trip and fall at a mall with substantial injuries. So me coming in to try that case 3 weeks ahead of time, even though it came from my firm, I had to get up to speed quickly so I could put it into Transcript Genius and ask questions about, give me the key moments about it, talking about maintenance. Who was the person most knowledgeable about this? Because you can ask it any question. But you can also do it across other cases. So like I will drop in, again, I do a lot of expert depositions and I try a lot of disc injury cases too, but we see the same players. So if I load in all those depositions in, even though if I did not take them on the Steno platform, I can then query it about over the universe of all of these depositions from multiple cases and say, like I tried to trick it one time to see how good it was. It was because I knew I had tried this case like 2 or 3 years ago, and I asked it to find if this expert ever said XYZ in a trial, and it found it. And I think we did it like 20 to 30 different transcripts of this doctor, and it found it. So it got it right.
That's crazy. It's really cool. And have you ever used it to understand what type of questions to be asking the witness or in a deposition itself?
I haven't used it for that use case yet, but I can ask my lawyers to see if they've done that yet. Because that's an interesting one. I mean, I wonder if we get to the point where it says, find me all depositions Bob Simon took of a neurosurgeon and give me an outline of typical questions he may ask. Like if it goes something like that as specific as, again, as you want to get the best work product, you don't want an outline from somebody that doesn't do well with these types of things. I haven't tried that yet. It's interesting.
It's an interesting one. I know. When I found out about this use case, it blew my mind because it can essentially make you a better lawyer in terms of finding gaps in things you didn't even know you had, right? Like what questions should I be asking?
And the thing I like most about it is it's free.
Yeah.
Free, gratis, free.
It is free 99. It is included.
Free 99. I'm stealing the shit out of that. I just had my artificial intelligence trademark that as we sit here.
Well, free 99. You heard it here first. Yeah. And
second.
So before we finish up here, I really wanted to ask you, really the focus on personal branding. I see you've created this incredible content room. You've been in your podcasting, see you making the moves. Why did you decide to make the shift and really focus on personal branding?
I think personal branding is how lawyers are going to win, especially with low-cost solutions. I think marketing, right? And I think other law firms be able to partner with other law firms. And if you have a good personal brand and you come off as credible and people want to work with you, they're going to find a way to work with you. The biggest mistake lawyers make is that if you're really good at what you do and nobody knows about it, you're not going to get much work. So you have to come out with a personal brand. And if you look on, if you're competing for business on Google and they're Googling personal injury lawyer Tampa or wherever, and a bunch of faces come up, who are they going to pick, right? Are they going to pick somebody? Oh, I recognize that brand. Then it's sticky. Then they want to sign with them rather than just going through all of Google and just picking a link for a law firm and then giving them a call. So if you have a good sense of your personal branding on your website, it doesn't take a lot of money to do this either. Like a few good videos. Like I'm at the point now in my career where I have a creative team. I have a videographer that we can create kind of this content, but it all goes back to the same driver. That's my personal brand. If you go to Planet Fun Bob on Instagram, you will see my personal brand. You will see it's about whiskey, it's about mentorship, it's about family, it's about trying spine injury cases, it's about technology. Those are the pillars. You're going to see it all the time, but it's intentional. So I get a lot of business from referrals from other lawyers because of personal branding.
This is great. And You mentioned something very important there, and that's the idea of pillars. As attorneys that want to get started, how should they identify these pillars?
What's important to you? So if you define a pillar as, I like expensive cars and watches, well, buyer beware, like what that's going to do for you, right? And I've seen lawyers make that mistake because they feel like, well, that's what I like. Well, maybe that is what you like. And then maybe not a lot of people are going to resonate towards that brand, right? But do it with intent. Like I used to lawyer if they're branding themselves and they're getting up, right out the gate, like, what should I brand myself as? Well, brand something that you're passionate about that may also be lucrative, right? Like, why not take that step? Like, you're not going to be slip and fall off a banana peel with the 99-cent store guy, right? Like, why would you want to do that to yourself?
Slipping Jimmy.
Slipping Jimmy. Oh, that's a good. I remember that. Better Call Saul, Slipping Jimmy. But no, it's true, right? Like, pick a brand, something that people easy to remember. Like we were the Simon Law Group when we started. We switched to just Justice Team. Much easier to remember, much easier to visualize.
Sticks with you.
Sticks. Yeah. It's sticky. But yeah, I think that lawyers just made the mistake of their vanity being first and foremost, and that doesn't really play well.
I see. Now, we always ask this as the final question to the podcast, and that is, what is your spiciest take on the industry right now?
Ooh, the spiciest take is that private equity is coming in very hard, very fast. They're creating their own firms and marketing firms. And if you do not have a good personal brand, if you are not easy to find, they will not find you with their referrals. And we're seeing it live, and we're seeing things happening on attorney share. And trust me, these folks are going to they're going to want to monetize their cases the best. They want to find the best lawyers who are going to do the best job. So if you're great lawyer doing a great job, make sure people can easily find you, work on your branding, and these other law firms are finding you. It takes one relationship of people that are getting large amounts of cases to define your career, legitimately define your career. So put yourself in that position.
All right. You heard it here first. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, Bob.
Anytime.
And I hope you have a great day.
Always.
Between the Briefs is brought to you by Steno. To find out more about Steno and how we combine exceptional court reporting and litigation support services to deliver a superior litigation experience, visit steno.com. That's STENO.com. And then make sure to search for Between the Briefs in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Steno, thanks for listening.